Zach Reynolds alongside Oilers head coach Rod Murray for this week's virtual coaches show. Another big week upcoming, as it seems just about every week now. It's 4 games in 5 days, and this one a little different as well, as one of the games being on the road and after playing at home on Wednesday and then coming back to the building on Saturday and Sunday. And we saw a 4-game week last week. It was because of the postponement and all in Utah. And team picked up 3 points out of a possible 8 against a very good Utah team. And once again, that's led to this week being a week where you play a team directly touching you in the standings, for 4 consecutive games. With the series in Utah, what was your overall feeling about the series? I know there's kind of saw almost a different team on some nights than others, but what was your general feel of the 4-game series?
Well, Wednesday night, we end up losing the game late, where it was about 2.5 minutes to go in the game, and it was 2-2, and we give up a 2-on-1 late in the game, where it was just unacceptable that we did that. And I actually had the discussion with the team prior to Friday's game, and one of the things that I brought up is that at that point of the game, if given the opportunity to score a goal and win it, obviously you're going to take it. Yet you're at a 2-2 game with 2.5 minutes to go. At minimum, we got to get a point. And we should have been playing that way, but we're the way that whole play kind of transpired, it was like we were down a goal and we had to push. And it was unfortunate that happened. And we, we're up 2-0 in the game. They came back. It was a very equal game by both sides. And for us to come away with a 4-2 loss with an empty netter after playing as hard as we did, it was all for naught. And, be it push it to overtime and maybe win it in overtime or a shootout, or minimal, get a point. And that's been my message ever since I've been coaching. Like, it's end of the day, you got to get something out of it, and whether it be a point or two. And so Wednesday's game, disappointing on that behalf. Friday, we came out a lot harder and played a lot better game on Friday night with the 3-1 lead win. And I thought that more than anything, probably just, we had our legs better on Friday. Saturday, I actually didn't think we played all that bad. We probably doubled them in shots on Saturday night, even though it was a 6-3 loss. But when it was all said and done, they had 4 goals on 7 shots, I think it was, to begin the game. And I don't know that I can really blame Rodebush on a couple of goals where, like the first one was a tip. Lewis's second goal was a excellent shot, but we didn't defend it very well. And they took advantage of us on Saturday night and got out to that 5-0 lead. And realistically was, the game was over. We made a push in the third, but it was too late and wasn't enough. Sunday afternoon, I don't know, Zach, just your typical 3rd and 3 nights, 3rd and 2.2 days or whatever. And, we played a real hard game. I liked our effort. I thought both teams played well. We had a good chance right before they scored in overtime. Lazarich had a wraparound attempt that he didn't score on, and typical overtime, now it goes the other way, and they scored on their only shot in overtime. But again, the whole theory of at least getting a point, and there was a couple of chances that Utah had with about a minute to go in the game, and it was where we kind of almost let them back into that scenario that I was talking about on Wednesday. And one of the things that we had a 2-1 lead, probably took a penalty that we could have avoided with Alex Crom. We got that penalty killed, had possession in our own zone and gave it up. And that's when Canone scored the tying goal, where, 4.5 minutes to go, we go down shorthanded, did an excellent job killing the penalty. And just as the penalty expires, they ended up scoring. And I think without that penalty, maybe we would have walked away with a 2-1 win or whatever. But nonetheless, would have liked to got more than 3 out of 8. But I thought, throw away Saturday's game. I thought the guys really competed hard and gave it everything they had all 4 nights. So, and as you mentioned, we got another 4-game set coming up against Kansas City here, 3 at home. So we got to take advantage of that and start taking advantage of our home ice advantage.
And you made a good point. It wasn't a power play goal, but without the penalty, potentially that goal doesn't happen on Sunday. And we've seen that happen a few times where, the Oilers have scored directly after a power play expires, or the other team scores, directly after it. And how much longer of a period and tougher is it after a penalty has expired, or so the power play is expired for the other team? You look at it and teams still kind of have a few seconds where it's dangerous. Is that just because you don't have that guy back in the zone yet, or is it because you've kind of been trapped in your own end on sometimes for 2 minutes and you've got tired legs out there, or is it kind of a combination of the two?
Well, it's a combination probably of 3. I mean, there's fatigue in the penalty killers. The time it takes the guy to get out of the box and get into the play, that would be another factor. And then probably the most defining factor is the fact that you've got a guy coming out of the box that's probably out of position. For example, we had, I think it was Danny and maybe McNulty. I'm not sure who was on the ice. Maybe it was Lane and McNulty. So Alex Crom coming out of the box, he's a right winger by trade. Well, rule of thumb is whoever comes out of the box basically plays center, and he goes low. But there is always confusion when that happens. And I mean, it should be standard. We should know that regardless whether it's a defenseman coming out of the box or whoever's coming out of the box, you take the position as a centerman, you're the low guy in our defensive scheme. And so in that transition, a goal like that was scored against us on Sunday afternoon. That's where, you can take advantage of that kind of, want to call it extended power play for another 5-10 seconds until the defending team gets all set up. Now, the puck's out of the zone, the guy streaks to the bench, we get a change, we're all good. It's a different scenario. But when you're stuck in your zone and the guy comes out of the penalty box, then, there's a few factors that go into that.
Before we get into this week's series a little bit more, maybe a team we'll see later, we haven't seen in a while, is Rapid City. They're playing very well, tied with win percentage with the Oilers right now, and they're 8-1, 0-1 in their last 10 games. I know you don't do much, standings watching or, focusing on teams that you're not going up against at the time, but have you seen anything or maybe heard of anything as to maybe why Rapid City is having this stretch of success, especially because a lot of those games have come against the Allen Americans, who, we've seen multiple times this year. I mean, they're a good hockey team.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we've talked about all year, parity. I mean, nobody's under 500 in our whole division or whole conference. I mean, it's the way that things have kind of gone this season, and everybody is in the thick of it, and every game is so important. And I think Rapid City, with their streak right now, I think what's happened is that just that. I mean, everybody is just playing hard every night, and you get on a streak and you ride it. I mean, we've had our own streaks this year. We won 5 games, 6 games. Like, it happens for one reason or another. You just get on a streak and you get feeling good about yourself, and things take care of itself.
We saw some personnel changes this last week that were forced, due to injury, where players being called up. 2 that really pop off the page, it seems, are the fact that, Mike McKee up in the AHL with Tucson, and then also weren't available to have Greg Burmester at the end of the week as well. And he had been on a really strong tear, had 3 points or points in 3 straight games and a couple multi-point games in a row. What's kind of the status with those 2 guys as far as this upcoming week goes?
Well, Burmester took a very hard hit from Tegan Zahn on Friday night, sorry. And he was a little shaken up. I think he's going to be okay. He should be available to us tomorrow night, Wednesday. And Mike McKee is now back in Tulsa. He got sent back, so he's going to be back in our lineup come tomorrow night also. So I can't say for sure where Greg Burmester stands, but I think the fans could count on Mike McKee being in the lineup tomorrow night.
And with Burmester, maybe not going to be playing, but when he does come back, are you thinking about throwing him back with Pleskach and Lane perchance? I mean, obviously they played very well together, and we've also seen him play very well with Justin Taylor as well. But is that something you kind of have in your mind? Is, hey, this is when he comes back, this is where he's going to slot, and I'm going to have to move X, Y, and Z to make it happen.
Yeah, I think so, Zach. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, he was having success. He was contributing. Very versatile player. I've talked about him multiple times this season, and there's no reason due to injury that you lose your position. I mean, if he's ready to go, I can foresee him playing with Plesh and Laner. We did lose Darby Llewellyn on Sunday afternoon. We're still waiting to see what how badly his injury is, and we'll have to make a decision on that. But it'd be great to get Burmester back in, and so that he doesn't lose that edge that he's been playing with. If it's an extended injury, guys tend to be a little bit slow starting when they come back. But being it was only Friday and we play Wednesday again, hopefully he has, he's got that edge still, and that he keeps playing the way he has been and contributing and helping the team win.
We'll see Kansas City coming in just above. .512 is the win percentage right now for the Oilers. .513 is what it is for the Mavericks. Obviously, very evenly matched teams, and we've seen kind of a very up and down season series with them. They've had some really strong games. They've had a couple of shutouts, but also the Oilers have jumped on them and jumped on mistakes they've had this season and had success in their own right. Looking into this week and what you've seen with them, what is it that maybe fans can expect from them now? I mean, we know that they still have Brody Reed, but obviously earlier in the season they lost Giorgio Estefan to the Stockton Heat, and I mean he's been about a point per game player in the AHL since he's been called up. But what are some players maybe to keep an eye on for Kansas City and some of the things that they do strongly?
Well, Reed definitely. I mean, he's a guy that I think he scored every game against us so far. I mean, he finds a way. He's good on the power play. He plays the flank where he works on the one timer, and he scored a couple goals that way against us. I think overall, and you see teams do it to us, and we have to start being those guys too, where we need to start. It's late enough in the season. We know who the personnel that we're playing against. Doesn't matter whether we're playing Allen, Kansas City, Wichita. We know who their top guys are. And it's time for us now to start leaning on those guys. And when I say that, you look at our series a while back when we had Maxi Golot, Rapid City targeted him, and eventually he got hurt. One of the previous games that we played against Kansas City, that Michael Ouellette, he took out McEnany and he took out Cockrell in one game. I mean, good hard hits. And then Danny got knee to knee that night, and we were short those guys the following day. I'm not advocating that we hurt guys, but we've got to make it harder on the other team's skilled players. And I don't think we've done a good enough job of that. We just go in, playing the game, just kind of let's hope we win. Whereas we have to have a little bit more depth and dimension to our game where, I always said you have to have awareness of who's on the ice against you. We talked about that quite a bit last year against Utah when they had that top line with Molina, Lewis, and and Magali. And so you had to know. And when we were able to shut those guys down, we had success. When we weren't, we didn't have success against them. So, you look at a Boucher in that series against Utah just this past week. I mean, the kid killed us. I mean, he was on the score sheet every night. Sunday afternoon, we focused on him a little bit more, and we were able to kind of, just alleviate his abilities a little bit. And so that's what we have to do, whether it be Reed and have our head up, because that Ouellette's a clean player. Mm-hmm. He's probably, Alex Crom is as good a hitter in the league. I don't know that I've seen a guy in this league hit as hard as Ouellette does and do it cleanly, and for that reason, you have to have awareness. I mean, it's awareness of their skilled players, but you got to have awareness who you're out there against. Like, my whole thing is, and like, I guess I escaped major injury when I was a player because I had awareness of who was on the ice. I knew a guy was coming at, like, you know what I mean? But I think today's player is more accepting of, oh, I'm going to get hit, so I get hit. You don't have, like, if you don't have to get hit, you don't have to get hit. Mm-hmm. And you should try to avoid it as much as you can. And I'm thinking back of those couple of games against Kansas City where Ouellette, I mean, he absolutely hammered Homonic like 2 or 3 times in the first 5 minutes. And it's like, and that's a big guy. You know, Justin's a big man. And so, like, those are the things that going into a series, you look at their personnel and you have to have awareness, and it goes for who's going to be putting the points on the board and who's going to do what Ouellette does. And you have to be aware when you're on the ice.
And when a team has, you know, maybe a couple of dimensions, I mean, it seems that a lot of the teams this year do, you know, they're not just pigeonholed into one way. But, you know, you said you have to be aware of the scorers and the guys that could bring the physical threat. And with that, is it a real advantage when you're at home and you can get that last change? You know, obviously you don't want guys maybe being scared of a player per se, but, you know, you see Laurent Ouellette get out there and, you know, you have your top unit out there where the guys maybe aren't as physical, and you think, hey, I mean, we can pull them in here for a bit and get them out on our terms.
Well, yeah, and I look back on my experience with that, and it goes back to the lockout year a few years ago when I had 4 guys playing for me in Alaska that were NHL contracted guys, and we were playing Stockton, and Garrett Hunt played for Stockton, and I don't know if people are aware of Garrett Hunt. I'm sure most are. You just didn't see him too much in this division. Mm-hmm. But Huntsy, who eventually ended up playing for me in Alaska for a couple of years, but there's another kid. He could hit like a truck, and his sole, what he was out there to do was to take out one of those NHL guys. So when we were at home and playing Stockton, I would definitely keep my top players away from Garrett Hunt on a change, on a whistle. And there was a couple times where Scott Gomez came off, and he did, like, looking at me like, why are you taking me off? And I'm like, Gomer, believe me, you don't want to be out there right now. And so there was one time when we were in Stockton and I wasn't able to do that. And sure enough, Garrett Hunt went straight at Scott Gomez, and, you know, didn't hurt him, but, you know, like, there's the potential there. So to answer your question, yes, when you're at home, you got more flexibility to keep maybe you know, your top guys away from somebody that might be out there to do some damage. So we'll see. I mean, you know, like you said, you can't play the game scared, and whatever happens. But there's a little gamemanship in that. That's for sure.
We saw Devin Williams, you know, take the heavy workload this week, playing 3 out of the 4 games. And then, like you said, I mean, it's every week, 4 out of 5 games, it seems. So it's very difficult to really have to lean on a guy every night. But obviously he played very well this last week. And what was your, you know, what's your kind of game plan with him moving forward? I know you don't like to think too far ahead about it, but you've mentioned sometimes, you know, he plays a lot of games, kind of breaks down a bit. You know, how's he feeling, and how are you feeling about how he plays and you know, the amount that you can put him out there?
Well, I think that Devin's played very well. I mean, he's given us what we need, and so far so good. Like, he's not. I don't see that he's fatiguing. I would have liked to see him not get run about 3 times last game for sure. I mean, that was uneasy feeling for me. You know, the wheels start turning. I'm standing on the bench mid second period, and they drive the net and they run him over, and he's laying there for a bit, and I'm at a loss because you got Durney on the IR right now. Eriksson Ek is not coming back, and, you know, you just start. I start thinking, like, where do we find a goalie? Like, you know, there's goalies out there, but not a Devin Williams, right? You're just not going to pick those guys off trees. So Willie's doing well. You know, I think he's up for the challenge, and he understands the situation, and he knows that he's the guy, and we need him to basically carry the load for us here and get through this tough stretch of scheduling. And maybe, we had thought that we were going to practice today. We got home a little late last night. Our flight was delayed out of Houston, and we were just, by the time we got home last night, I was like, you know what, it's yesterday. You could call it a day off, but we're in the airport
right
from noon to midnight, and so it's not necessarily that day off that everybody would want. So we give the guys a day off. Practice at this point of the year really is, it's not, sure you can work on stuff, yet I think it's more valuable right now to give the guys rest and allow them to kind of recharge the batteries and be ready to go tomorrow night.
Obviously, scoring goals helps a goaltender out. And what are some other things that maybe the team can do to help Willie during this tough stretch? I mean, you mentioned, got kind of run, into the game. There's some things that you can kind of plant into the mind of the other team to avoid that a little bit.
Well, it wasn't, they weren't dirty hits on, it was just guys going strong to the net and losing their balance and sliding into the goalie. It just seemed to happen too many times. It didn't seem to be a coincidence, put it
Right.
that way. And, like Roman Durney, he got hurt in the same deal. In Allen the one night when, they crashed the net and one guy fell and twisted his leg a little bit. And that's where he's at now, so it could happen real quick. So you got to watch. I mean, what can we do? Yeah, you can protect the goalie, but the plays that happen in Utah is just a guy driving hard to the net. And, we need to probably, I mean, it's nothing you can really do about it other than try to protect your goalie as much as you can. And knowing that the other team knows that that's your guy, and going forward, a 4-game series, it's nothing different than going into a playoff series saying, we gotta wear this guy down. So it gets back to the gamemanship that we were talking about earlier. Whether it's the players, you have to have awareness of. You have to try to lean on a goalie as much as you can also.
And, looking at it in regards to the defensemen from this past week and coming into this week, we mentioned personnel changes with Greg Burmester earlier. Well, we saw him on the defensive end as well with Mike McKee being up, I should say. And then, you lose Cockrell for a game and, Burstard for a period. And with all of that, was there anything from the new lines that you had to juggle, the new pairings that you liked what you saw and thought, hey, I kind of like this. Maybe I go to this in the future, or, hey, this is a really good scenario to have if somebody goes down?
Well, I mean, it's mix and match. I mean, we dressed 7D on Sunday afternoon, and I like the way that McEnany played. He hadn't played in a while, and he came in and played a strong game for us. I think Austin gives us that. Like, when he was struggling, I think he was trying to do too much. And if he keeps his game simple, he's effective. Our power play, with Brooks and Cockrell, realistically, like we ended up with 3 power plays, but I think only one was for 12 seconds. Gates took a tripping penalty, and so, again, I don't find we're a dirty team at all, and I can say that with confidence. Yet, we end up with 6 power plays to kill on Sunday afternoon, and we only had 3 with the one that I said. So basically 2, because
Right.
we only had 12 seconds on the one. So somehow we've got to change that pattern. We got to be on the other side of that score sheet and give our power play a chance. I don't think that we were effective enough on our power play in Salt Lake. Could have been the difference in a game or two. And that's something that we really have to start getting better at. And that goes to Cockrell, Brooks, and then the second unit with Brassard, McEnany, whoever it is. And I'm not laying blame. I'm just saying that, we as a unit, we need to be better and more effective. And we just I guess we just never got in a groove on the power play there in Utah. But in saying that, it can make a difference in the game. But giving ourselves not 6 to kill every night would help too.
And you look at the power play as of late, has been really solid. I mean, coming into after the week with Wichita, coming into the next week against Allen, bottom of the league, and you climb 3 spots within just 10 days. And that's not easy to do this late, not late in the season, but it's not like there's only 5 games that's been played. So playing very well. And some guys on the second unit, it seems, really relish their opportunity with the first unit when called upon. Justin Taylor, one of those guys especially. And we saw Greg Burmester obviously playing up top against Utah early and helping out with the power play there. With them, what's kind of your idea with them going forward? Is Greg Burmester playing on the left point as a power play guy something that you really like to see, just because, yeah, he's a forward, but that he could play defense because he's done it for you this year as well?
I think Burmy ended up playing the point on the power play out of necessity in our situation. But in saying that, he did well. I think he had an assist at home, and then he had that assist, with limited power play time. He's got 2 assists in maybe four attempts. So pretty good percentage. So, right. Not sure. That's something that we could probably discuss yet. I haven't really put too much thought into it. Like I said, we're trying to figure out our lineup just in general for tomorrow night and whether he's even in the lineup. So, but it's a good tool to have for us, knowing that he can, and you and I have talked about it. On the second power play, chances are the power play is going to expire, and you don't necessarily want to forward out playing defense. But we have confidence in the fact that Burmester has played a whole game for us on defense this season and did well, that he can do it. So I feel confident, more confident about having him out there in the second unit if need be. Whether that happens or not, we'll see.
And we've talked about what to expect from Kansas City and Brody Reed, but from your own team coming into this week, picked up 3 points, and you said some very good games. But is there anything that you would like to see tweaked? Not maybe by strategy or systems, but maybe just some things cleaned up that you saw this week that you think could be easily fixed with the right mindset and could pay big dividends?
Well, I think that it's always a ongoing challenge. We have to keep our forecheck aggressive. We gave up too many odd man rushes throughout the series against Utah, and I think that we talk about scoring, where it's coming from. Danny Moynihan's played 5 games since he got called up and sent it back from Anaheim, and he hasn't got a point. So that's something that needs to, obviously we look to team scoring everybody, but we know, if Danny Moynihan's going, we've got a good chance. And he's been on a little bit of a dry spell, and he's a guy that needs to kind of get going. And I think Vincent Marlowe's got a little bit more to give. There's a couple of guys that you just want more out of, and it's I don't think I'm asking too much. It's what's expected. And Matt Lane again on the score sheet the other night, got his 9th goal now.
Yep.
And so he's playing fabulous for us right now, and Plush is reaping the rewards of playing with him, and Adam's playing really good work right now, and we talked about Burmester when he was on that line. So you go through cycles where this line's going. I guess maybe to answer your whole question, we need everybody, you know what I mean? Like we need contribution by everybody, not just a line every night. We need, it would be nice that we could say, wow, we had three lines just going tonight, and they had no answer for it. So that would be something that, a little bit more balance throughout the lineup and get that going from this point on.
Well, if you don't have anything else you'd like to add, I think that's all I got for you for this week.
All right. Oh, just a note. If you're ever in Midvale, Utah at 10:30 at night, Burger King doesn't have meat.
That's something that everyone's got to keep in mind here coming up. So if you going out there for the next round of games next season, then
they ran out of meat.
Who would have thought?
So,
maybe not the kings of burger then, huh?
No, chicken sandwich wasn't bad though. So, all right, Zach, thanks a lot.
We'll catch up with you tomorrow.
All right, we'll see you.
See ya.